Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday, Jennifer.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has.
Yes, first live stream of the week. Last week we were just too freaking busy, and I think I had spent all my brain cells by the time live stream time came, and it was like, I think I just need a break.
That definitely happens.
Yeah, and this week was really not much different. The one thing that happens is the week goes by extremely fast when you have lots of stuff to do. So yeah, you get a double whammy, couple weeks of updates here. Got some exciting updates that we come across, of course, that creates more work for me, which I really need this time of year. And if you'll stick with us here, you'll hear all about it. And yeah, we added some new services for existing customers, and that requires some additional training for yours truly. We've been adding some additional layers of security to email, and it includes AI powered phishing detection, which is kind of important. Of course, you have to learn how to deploy that to your customer so that they're getting, they're not getting a lot of false positives from people that they would typically get email from, but are getting legitimate warnings when something looks like a phish. For instance, somebody has an email address and the domain looks a lot like the legitimate one, but the L is really a 1. The AI will pick up on stuff like that and say, hey, you might have received email from this person before. It looks like somebody you've received email before, but it looks like there's a misspelling here. And it's getting pretty sophisticated in the way that it can protect you. We've also added for our managed customers dark web monitoring and detection. And if you're curious about that, if your stuff is on the dark web, give us a call because we can do a free checkup for you and tell you whether or not you get a clean bill of health or not. Or whether you need to go on some sort of monitoring because your stuff is on the dark web. That particular service also includes cybersecurity training for employees. And we've upped our game in the software as a service protections. So formerly, we were just doing backups for Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace. But now we have added onto that where we're able to do stuff like Salesforce or Duo or Okta, a number of other applications, but also included is detection for anomalies where, say, for instance, you have somebody who works in McCook and suddenly, even though they're sitting at their desk in McCook, a third-party user, aka hacker, logs in from Quincy, Massachusetts, and that's kind of like an impossible. It's impossible for you to teleport, at least with today's technology. It's going to pick up on that and give you an alert and have a remediation where it's going to block that hacker from Quincy, Massachusetts. And yeah, all those things, get additional SaaS backup too. That Dropbox is one of them too. I forgot to mention. We don't have a lot of customers that are on that, but just stuff that we wanted to be able to offer to make sure that we're giving a full rounded protection to our customer. So yeah, we've had a lot of accounting customer stuff this week, haven't we, Jennifer?
We have.
Yes, I had a 16-hour day. What day is it? Oh yeah, it's Friday. On Wednesday. I'm just kidding. It was just one of those things where, Thomson Reuters is a company that does specific software that is for accountants and for enrolled agents, people who are authorized to submit tax on taxpayers' behalf and talk directly to the IRS on the behalf of a customer. The one accounting firm that I work with has 10 plus people that work there, and they require their stuff to work quickly all the time, because they're trying to get your returns out as quickly as possible, and they're also trying to be profitable. So we work really, really hard trying to make sure their software and their systems are updated and secured. So that was part of that 16-hour day, where they actually have a lot. They use some accountants, they use like maybe one or two apps. These guys use the full gamut, and they all integrate with one another. And we need to make sure that they all work well together, and that the information, if a tax return is being processed and somebody's fixed assets is being processed, et cetera, that it will go, when they're working on it, it goes to their billing system, and that they're keeping themselves straight with their practice management system. There's a lot to it, a lot more than we think. Of course, we have an absolutely giant tax code, which is overcomplicated, but that is another story. But having said that, it requires software that can handle dealing with that sort of complexity. And if I say so myself, I've gotten to be like the Thomson Reuters whisperer around here. I know how to talk to the tech support guys because, hey, I don't know everything about how their software works. They wrote it. But you do need to know how to, as an IT professional, know how to navigate the various applications that you're going to have to support for your client, whether that be your accounting firm, a manufacturing, or finance, or healthcare, what have you. You need to understand how to work with their applications and their applications support. So yeah, we've been doing that. And of course, the tax code never changes, right? Did you find a little bit more in your paycheck this month?
I didn't even look.
Oh, you didn't? The tax tables changed. I noticed at a smidge more in my paycheck this this month. It wasn't a whole lot to write home about, but it was something. But all of those updates need to be done. And, our accounting customers and many of our customers understand that their time is more valuable, an accountant's situation, processing returns, giving advice, doing billable things than to be doing updates on their own. When somebody like yours truly can do them for you, and you can just continue on with your work. And those updates are getting to be more and more frequent. We have usually at the beginning of the year, the biggest ones are done. And then throughout the year, as the tax code changes, we have, when COVID was, we were sometimes having to do several a day, several a week. It's kind of calmed down a smidge since, but it remains to be seen what this year is going to be like with the changing of the guard on the 20th. So, and like any business, our accountants are, it's a seasonal business and they have new hires. And we've gotten really good at helping our clients navigate this. In some cases, we can, if somebody's not changing position, like for instance, one of my accounts, they don't have a receptionist 12 months of the year. They have a receptionist for 6 months out of the year. And we recycle that account, so that when they put a new person in the seat, they're able to be good to go. They just call me the day before, I turn it on, and away they go. Others have to have a little bit more extensive things that I have to do, but I try to keep it so that if our client has to hire somebody, they need to start them in tomorrow. As long as they give me a reasonable amount of time, usually the day before, we can get them provisioned and good to go. And that's also one of the benefits of Microsoft 365, isn't it, Jennifer?
Yep.
Yep. And we see that time and time again here in the office. So as if I didn't have enough to do, we had some onboardings. I had 2 onboardings, and in some cases, there's a little bit of lag. One was for a client that we'd partially onboarded before, and they simply, had to pause because they were in their busy time, and we needed to schedule a couple months in to do other stuff to onboard the rest of their applications. We still got a little bit more to go. But in that case, we're going to be cutting over from Google email to Microsoft 365. One of the things that we learned out of that is you got to kind of watch your Microsoft licensing. They did have some Microsoft licensing, but it was not legitimate. Running a for-profit enterprise, you need to have legitimate software, and they're running their Microsoft 365 on a family plan. Not cool. And you miss a lot of the things that you actually need as a business when you're maybe trying to save a few bucks. It's often costing you more money on the other end. You just don't realize it until you have the right stuff. So we did that and finished up my other accountant. We had password manager. That was the one that we had left over on that one. And then we had a small community village onboarded. And I got most of that finished. I got 1 user left to do on that. The user that I wanted to get completed was not working today. So we will get them done next week. And but wait, there's more. We have had a lot of response with Windows 10 going out of support in October. People being concerned that computers and electronics are going to be going up due to threatened tariffs. And so folks have been going ahead and replacing their equipment in advance, being proactive about things. And let's face it, Windows 11 is nicer, don't you think, Jennifer?
It is.
I mean, was it a big deal for you to go from one to the other?
No.
And I know, like, when you went to the Switch, you were not as seasoned.
Yeah.
Right?
It was really easy.
Yeah. So
there's really not a huge difference in there.
I don't think people should be afraid of it, Don't be afraid of like the start button going to the center instead of to the left. That's really was one of the really biggest change. What was the biggest change for you?
The start menu, it goes to apps instead of going into the long line, but you can get to that long line really quickly.
Yeah, and how often you do that? Usually, I just put the first couple letters in the search, and then like if I'm
search, you don't have.
If I'm opening Word, I just type WO, and then boom, it pops up the suggested. You click on it, and away you go. So that's a lot quicker than what you had to do when you're filtering through that long list.
Yep.
And W's all the way down to the bottom. You have to scroll.
Yep.
So it's quicker, but people don't realize that. you know, and I didn't really think about it even until now. That's something that you used to do
Yeah.
that took, maybe 15 seconds. And, if you're opening up applications all the time in your business, you add that up, you're doing that 15 seconds every time you open an app, and how many times you open an app in a day. And there's that 15 seconds that you completely lose, times maybe 10 or something like that, or more, and then multiply that over the week, over the month, over the year. We're talking some real dollars. Have I ever mentioned this to you, Jennifer, like the death by 1,000 paper cuts in IT,
I don't think so.
where you just kind of like don't notice those little things, but they really add up?
Mm-hmm.
If you got somebody that's like you're paying like $15 an hour, or 14 or whatever, $20, what have you, you multiply that out and you're losing minutes, and at the end of the year, it adds up to like hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel it at first, like paper cut, dang it, But if you get enough of them, you're bleeding pretty good, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, and one of the nice things about the computer installs that I did this week, and you've probably noticed this on the residential side with a lot of our customers that are on the residential protection plan that replace their computers, they all have Microsoft 365 accounts. And that just makes things so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting done in, 30 minutes to an hour after the dang thing will finish its updates.
Yeah.
Versus what we had to do. We had to do the old copy thing, right?
Yep.
And then I taught you a new trick the other week.
Yep.
Have you used that one yet?
I have.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yep. For if somebody doesn't have a Microsoft 365 account yet, use that operative word yet.
The ones that were just here just before we went live, he didn't have a Microsoft
Oh,
account.
so did you use it then?
He didn't even bring in his old computer.
Oh, he didn't. Okay. Was he planning on it or no?
No.
Oh, so they took it home with them?
Yep.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah.
I just had to get him signed into a Microsoft account because you have to do that to.
Yep, you have to do that now. Well, I mean, there are hokey ways around it, but why?
I don't even think there's even ways around it anymore.
No,
Unless
you
get
go
one of
on
the-
YouTube and.
you get one of those computers those tiny ones.
Oh yeah, those El Cheapo burnable.
Yeah.
I call them like burner computers.
Those are the only ones that I've seen a way around it.
But we use those burner computers for a reason, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're typically like the one. We have a couple burner computers in the clubhouse at one of the resorts that we support, because if somebody steals it, whatever.
They're not out a whole bunch.
They're not out a ton of money. Yeah, exactly. And no, they don't last forever. I mean, what are those last ones? But they did last about 3 years, maybe
I thought about 2.
2-3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't great, but for what they needed, they just need a place for people to print, boarding passes. If, some of the older folks do that. Yesterday I was working on one because I got an alert somebody was playing Roblox, and they were trying to download, some sort of cheat thing or whatever. It had malware in it, but the ones that we have at the resort, they have like a little piece of software that every time you reboot the machine, it puts it back to the way that it was like originally. So I don't even have to uninstall Roblox.
Nice.
It just like goes back to what it was. So that was all right. But we did have a few post install touch ups because we sold a bunch of computers last month.
Yes.
Mostly because of that Windows 10 campaign to 11 campaign that we did. And some of the typical things that we have to do when you take your computer home is, particularly with our remote management, like our residential people. We have to set up their printers. That was one thing. And then, yeah, people still use iTunes. I did not know people
Yep.
were still using iTunes quite a bit. And so I hadn't touched iTunes in years, and I had one in one day and one the next day. one for a client that had taken his entire CD collection and imported it into iTunes back before Spotify,
Yeah.
and one for the funeral home.
Yeah, we just use our Alexa
Yeah,
for music.
but yeah, there were reasons why they were using iTunes.
Yeah.
Well, because you're not going to take your CDs, all your CD collection, and put it in Spotify. You're not capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So there's always like a couple little touch ups, but we did that. It was some additional little add-on crap that we ended up having to do. But the biggest pain in the bum this week was that one computer that it was like a older machine, had just a straight up Pentium. It was like one of those like probably big box store $299
If that.
computers with 4 gigs of RAM and a low end Pentium processor. And it updated to 11, and get a ticket and goes, well, I can't control my computer. And it's like, can I go back? It's like, well, that requires like reloading your entire operating system. And then you're just going to need Windows 11 anyways. And you're just going to be back to where you were before. And applications were working slower than expected. And, so I did convince them to go to the showroom with me on a computer, or we'll help him shop around if what we have, because we only do commercial grade stuff if it's not in his budget. So I did have another ticket earlier this week where the business user and just ended up having more requirements, plain and simple. The applications were starting to run a little bit slower because their file sizes were a lot huger, great grammar, were a lot larger, and multiple people were working inside said files. And so things weren't getting done efficiently. So that's one that we talked about doing, either an upgrade or a replacement. The machines were like not that old. They were like 3-4 years old, but their business grew and things, just march on. And, you don't want to struggle if you're trying to get truckloads out. It's kind of important to make sure that your stuff is up to snuff. So yeah. The other one that we've had has been kind of a hanger on is that one gaming computer that somebody bought super, super, super cheap on online service that starts with A and ends with an N. We won't fill that in. You can fill in the blanks. And it had a 90-day warranty on it.
Yeah, that's what you said.
And so, we went to something happened with the case and power supply. So we were having to move the motherboard and all the guts into a new machine, and then find out that the motherboard was some cheap Chinese piece of crap that it doesn't have any markings on it for where to put like the cables back for sound or the power button or this, that, the other thing. And so me not being deterred and really kind of cranky at the time, did some detective work and found the manufacturer of said motherboard. Looked for a manual. Of course, no manual. None. So I sent an email to their support, several emails. Zero response. Of course, they're in China. They might not even be able to read what I've written. But yeah, it's a warning against, buying something really super, super cheap, because chances are you're getting ripped off. And in this case, I feel bad for the guy. We tried real hard, but we're at the end of what we can do. I hate losing like that. Pieces, parts of it are still worth something, but yeah, don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money, to buy a halfway decent computer. Then yesterday, have you noticed there's been file sync issues with your OneDrive stuff lately?
Yeah, because I had transferred some articles over and then I didn't see them in there.
Yep. I had to resync for one of our clients in North Platte yesterday. And it was a simple fix, but if your Microsoft 365 files just are not syncing for some reason, give me a call. I know the fix. And did we talk about that printer the other? No, that was after Christmas, wasn't it? The one in Arapahoe, the one where the ISP muffed up, or was that last week? It's all a blur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I was here.
No, you handled the ticket initially, didn't know how to handle it. So
yes.
Was that last week?
It would have been during Christmas time.
Okay. So yeah, they changed the IP address on their router, and then the printer wouldn't work. So that was a little bit of detective work involved, but figured that one out. And yeah. I think the last thing was that we've had a lot of people dealing with QuickBooks issues because, the desktop is not available anymore. And so I got some calls to help people go to the online version, or, because you can't even buy like the latest desktop version anymore. They don't sell it. You have to buy the enterprise version, and that's just crazy expensive for most people. They're just trying to push people to the online version, I guess. So yeah. Anything else that you can think of note, Jennifer?
Not that I can think of.
That was a ton of stuff. Ton of stuff. We have to just, some people are specialists, but because of where we live, we have to be able to do a whole lot of things, a lot of different things. And we've been doing it for a long time. We're getting pretty darn good at it. We're better after 25 years. All right. Well, what do you think, Jen? You think it's time for the cat picture?
Yep.
This is Jamie, my pride and joy. And my nephew's son. What relation would that be? Nephew's son?
It would be your
grandnephew.
Yeah.
Would that be right? I don't know.
Great nephew.
Great nephew, yeah. There you go.
My nephew has a couple kids.
Yeah.
And niece.
I don't know. If I asked my wife, she'd know. She's one of those ancestry people. Made a wooden box, and of course, it makes a great cat bed for Jamie, my pride and joy. He's my fatty fat. Love him to pieces. He puts bruises on my stomach. So he's that heavy. It's like he jumps on my stomach. Of course, yeah. But yeah, happy days.
I didn't have time to do a dog.
No dogs. No dogs this week. You beat. Maybe next week you'll be lucky. Anything going on this weekend, Jen?
Nope, there's nothing planned.
Nope. All the hullabaloo of the holidays is all said, done, and over with.
Yep.
All
Thank goodness.
right. Well, it's time to get out of here then, and wish you a happy weekend. Happy weekend. Take care. Thanks for joining us. If you're here for this long, God bless you for staying with us. Hope we didn't bore you to tears. Hope to see you next week. Bye for now.